just recording now. So, hello
Yeah.
there. um,
Hello.
Thank you for joining me. And
No
let's
worries.
start with some basic information. What is your name? Where do you live? And what do you do?
Yeah. Well, I'm Gino, and I live in Chile, South America,
Hmm.
and I'm a data engineer. Well,
Hmm.
data engineer slash architect.
Okay.
I've been working at this for like 5 years. So that's basically it. South America, Chile.
Okay, okay, very good, very good. And for people who don't know, if we look at the map of South America, where is Chile? Like,
It's this fine, really thin strip of land next to Argentina.
so you
So
have the
it
Pacific.
yeah, it's located like almost half of South America
Hmm.
coast. Like we have the whole coast of it, because the whole country is like surrounded between the coast and a mountain range.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
like really thin strip of land across South America.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah,
that must be very nice though. In the
we have a lot of
mountains and
climates.
yeah.
Yeah, but we are across the whole country. You're 2 hours away from the coast
Ah, very
at
nice.
any point. So
Hmm.
and we have deserts to rainforests, like deserts to the north and rainforests to the south.
And
So
I
yeah,
imagine as you go towards the deep south, you have also the very, very cold climate.
yeah. Like this really like to the extreme south, like to the southern part of the country, like the most south part is called Tierra del Fuego, land of fire,
Oh my
and
goodness, yes.
yeah, you have the glaciers, and you have it's really cold and dry, like this
Hmm.
dry cold.
Hmm.
Before that, it's just cold with a lot of rain, which is really nice. But yeah, it's a really good country to just travel across it.
Oh, sounds amazing. Very well. We might talk about the Chile a bit later, but let's start with something a little bit more technical.
Yeah.
I want to learn about your Emacs usage, but then I also want to learn about this data engineering, data
Oh yeah.
architecture. So you will tell me more. But let's start with Emacs. So how do you use Emacs? What are you doing with it?
Yeah, well, I've been using Emacs actually as long as I've been working as a data engineer, which is 5 years. I didn't really know anything about Emacs. I remember through my college years, I would read about it. Maybe I read about it always in the context of Beam versus Emacs, but never really even tried either Emacs or Beam, and never
Hmm.
tried any of them.
Hmm.
I was just doing VS Code. And actually, my gateway into Emacs was org mode
Uh-huh.
because through college and also previously to college, previous to college, I was working as a security guard, and I really liked. I had a lot of time basically because I had these 12-hour shifts
Okay.
where I would do basically nothing, just sit in a cabin and read.
Hmm.
So I get
So
into to
was it a night shift, like the security guard?
no, it was what's the word for it? Like
So
you have a couple shifts, 12 hours day shifts and then night shifts.
okay, okay.
So
Hmm.
I had a lot of time writing to write, and I got really into trying to learn programming by myself.
Mm.
So I started using. I was on Windows at that time, and I was using something called Cherry Tree, or something like that. But it was basically a program where you could write and you could add images to it. You could just write things, but it was not really sufficient for programming, or I didn't like how it looked
Okay,
because I
okay.
had to screenshot, copy and pasted images, not code.
Ah, okay,
You see, it
okay.
was like one note.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I remember when I started working, uh, I came across it randomly in the internet about org mode, and I saw that that was on Emacs.
Mm-hmm.
So I started. That's where I started. But
Ah.
I tried vanilla Emacs just for org mode, and I did it sufficiently uh, appropriately enough, I would say. It was
Hmm.
enough for it, but I couldn't really do it at that moment. Like going from VS Code to vanilla Emacs, it was too much for me. So
For sure.
I yeah, I found Doom Emacs at that point,
Hmm.
and through Doom Emacs, it was a bit more intuitive,
Hmm.
like the interface and how to navigate it. So
Yes.
that's basically where I started, and from then on, I the challenge from then was like trying to integrate it into everything else. Really, it was like, yeah, I'm now writing on this and org mode. I'm writing org documents or files. How can I do more stuff in this in here?
Yeah, all the
Even having to go
workflows.
to
Yeah.
having to go to VS Code to make a script or to make a program, or having to go to a web interface
Ooh,
for
no, no, no.
something. Yeah. That basically became the challenge. How can I integrate this more into my workflow? So
Hmm.
that's basically where I started.
So when you switched to Doom, did you also go for the Vim key bindings? Because you said you hadn't used Vim before. So did you try
Oh
evil
yeah,
mode?
yeah. I went straight to evil mode,
No
and
problem.
I mean, it was a problem at first. It felt like not. It felt like being uh, like learning how to walk, basically, like
Hmm.
having to think really hard to how to do anything.
Hmm.
But I basically went all in because I was already working. I had a job at that point, so I had to do it. I didn't leave any room for myself to have a look for an alternative. I just went all in, and I think in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I was sufficient. It became more intuitive, and there I didn't have to think about bindings or anything like that.
That's amazing. Yeah, because like you come from VS Code, you have no background in Vim, so you learn both Emacs and Vim keys in a short amount of time. Fundamentally, because you really had to. You were really committed to
Yeah.
use org.
Yeah. The main thing that drew me towards it was being able to go back to what I was doing at that point, because I use org
Mm.
mode as a sort of a diary.
Okay.
Like I
So
keep
note taking.
daily,
Yeah.
yeah, I keep daily files or tasks or daily entries, and in those entries I then create links to things that I'm doing that day.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I don't keep everything in that day in the file. I keep it in separate files, but I link those to the day I was working in.
Okay. Good. Good.
So so I could go back. Let's say I have 3 tickets or tasks for a given project, and it would just go to that day or look for that task and then see which days I worked that in. Like I worked on this 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 6 months ago, or it really helped me with not having to reinvent the wheel every time, because I would go back to what I was doing that time, and then I could read there my thought process and the actual code that I did, so I could
Hmm.
reuse it.
Based on what you describe here, if I understand correctly, your org wasn't really a complex system. It was kind of a simple, general, standard org features, but used consistently, used well,
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
understand right. Yeah, yeah. So basically,
yeah,
org headings, links, and basically that's it.
yeah. A simple file, and during the day, actually, my workflow right now is really similar, which is during the day I write everything onto the org file for that day,
Hmm.
and at the end of the day I separate it into different sections.
Gotcha. Okay, okay.
I
So you go and
basically,
add the headings and.
yeah,
Mhm.
I do a review of that day, and the things that go to, then I separate the contents of that day to separate files,
Aha,
because I have
okay.
a, let's say I have a file for a project, uh, or for a task in a project, and so at the end of the day I look what I did, and the things that relate to that project I left them there.
Okay, so you have a daily file that you are working on. Let's say you have a project, let's say data engineering now. So you have an entry for it, you move it to the data engineering file, and you link to the relevant part.
Yeah, yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah. Right now I'm using Rom. I
So the
wasn't using Rom
dailies
at first.
feature.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm
I use Rom with the dailies feature, and I create entries. Then I create a node for the task that I'm doing.
hmm
I create
hmm
the heading and then create a node from that heading. So I just leave the things that relate to that heading to the file.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's really good. So you have a chronological record of your work, of your notes, let's say
Yeah.
more generally. Do you also rely on search? Do you also rely on keywords or
Oh
concepts
yeah.
or?
Yeah, I do like grep, or I use deft mode for
Hmm
a long time, but I haven't really used it for the last couple of years. But because of search, really grep search, the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
project, the repository is enough. But
So Deft, if I am remembering correctly, is a Zapier-based tool.
yeah,
So yeah, okay. So they have like an index with a database, and you query the database basically.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm
And what else? Well, I mean, it's really paid off because right now I can go look at my writings from when I started working
hmm
and compare it to things that I'm doing right now. And even right now, 5 years later, I can sometimes remember, oh yeah, maybe I have done something like this in a project before, and I can go back and look at it, and yeah, I can reuse parts of that still.
Amazing.
So
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
it's
the
really paid off.
value. Yeah. I think that's the value in consistency in general. Like you find a set of features that works and you stick with it, and it doesn't have to be the best system in abstract. What matters is that if you are consistent with it, it is predictable. So even 10 years from now or 5 years from now, you can still come back and know what to expect. Whereas if you keep
Yeah, yeah,
changing, even if it's good in theory, it doesn't work.
yeah. Yeah. For example, it's not a fully, what's the word for it, settled casting or something like that.
Hmm
I'm not doing atomic notes for
hmm
different topics. Really, it's just dailies and notes for specific tasks. And
hmm
maybe once or twice I do a bigger note which has the links to the different tasks. Let's
Okay.
say a note for a project, and I have like 100 tasks on that project. Maybe I would do that, but I think the dailies and notes for the tasks are enough for me in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, very good.
Yeah, yeah,
Tell me a little bit about Doom because you come from VS Code. So VS Code has this visual interface. Let's say it's intuitive, discoverable. You don't need to know any key bindings. You can sort of look around and use the mouse and
yeah,
find stuff. So you go from that to vanilla Emacs, where it's much harder to find things. Of course, there is still a menu bar and a toolbar, but there are no sidebars, no icons or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And then you go to Doom, which has kind of a VS Code vibe to it, let's say. What is it about Doom that you find intuitive? What is it that you found easier compared to vanilla?
I would say that the main thing, actually, is something that I've been thinking a lot about recently because I'm trying to migrate to a vanilla config, like my own config without the presets.
Hmm
I think the main thing is the interaction between packages,
Uh-huh.
the interaction between features, because a lot of time, I mean, when I mm, started with Doom, I didn't have to think about any of that. I would just enable a module, let's say a module for uh, Python,
hmm
which is the main programming language that I use at work. So I would just enable a Python module, and I would add a flag for LSP
hmm
mode, with the language server, and that would be it. And then I would just refresh Doom, sync it, and or upgrade it, run the upgrade command, and be done with it. But if I wanted to do that by myself, I would first have to go look for the packages I would need and how to integrate them, and how that would, for example, let's say I have a Vertigo or Corfu, a completion engine. How would I then enable as a person that's just starting with vanilla Emacs, how would I then go to integrate Python completion with the language server on the
Of course.
features of LSP mode, which are a lot, on which language server for Python to use, etc., etc. It's like I think that's the main draw towards a framework.
Yes, yes, yes. For example, let's say you want to use the built-in LSP client, so it's eglot or eglot, however people pronounce it.
Yeah,
So you need to know how to use a hook. Of course, something you can learn. Sure, everything
yeah,
is something you can learn. Now you figure out which LSP server you will have, but then you need to understand that, for example, to see diagnostics, there is fly make, which is
yeah,
another
yeah.
package. So you don't do something like eglot diagnostics or whatever, or LSP diagnostics. You have to know about
I check
FlyMake.
too. Yeah,
Exactly. And then you have to know, okay, what do I use for in buffer completion? Because by default, you don't have any. So maybe it's company mode, maybe it's Corfu mode. All
yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
options, which of course you can learn about, but until you learn that, it's really a grinding, difficult experience.
Yeah, and let's say that I tried that when I was in college or when I was trying to learn by myself. Python. I- I'm at that point. I'm just trying to learn Python. I'm not trying to learn how to configure Emacs or ELISP for that
Yeah,
matter.
how completions pop up, for example.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or how to make a hook for a package or for a function, or how to the let a let block, for example, in ELISP
Mm-hmm.
is something that I struggled for a long time because I never really gave it much thought to be dedicated to learning ELISP.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just read code from a package and see let something or let asterisk and not know
Mm-hmm.
what the hell was going on there. But then I tried it to doing it myself, and then I understood. Oh yeah, it's for this. This is a this is the purpose of this code or this function, or here's how I can do a conditional uh, uh, block for a function in a package. Let's say I'm using use package and I
Mm-hmm.
want to enable it only when another package is enabled, or when the function from another package is enabled, then I can do this or that or whatever. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think someone that doesn't have any programming experience or is learning a programming language, which is going to be probably Python, because that's the most common language being taught right now,
Mm-hmm.
besides JavaScript or whatever, is it's going to bounce off of Emacs if going through the vanilla route.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. So yeah, I also agree that frameworks or starter kits of or presets, however you want to call them, I think there is great value to them, even
Yeah,
if it's just for a short amount of time. So for a brief experience where you're like, ah, this is what Emacs can do, and then as you
yeah,
say, okay, now I can go and roll my own configuration.
yeah.
Which is, of course, now the next interesting point. What are you looking for in your own configuration? What is it that you want it to do, or what is it that you don't need from Doom?
Uh, Basically, I want to know everything that's going on my Emacs. Uh, Mainly because, let's say or what I'm doing right now, because I've been getting into making packages or making functionalities for myself on or integrating new programs into Emacs or my workflow.
Hmm.
And a lot of times I've been, especially with org mode, because org mode is such a behemoth that you
For
get a lot
better
of
or
side
worse.
effects. Yeah, for better or worse, it's like the whole thing, the whole thing. You can do whatever you want, but at the cost of having a lot of different options to integrate the different functions. And when doing something for org mode specifically, I've come across a lot of side effects that come from packages that are already the presets configured in Doom Emacs. That I would maybe think that something is wrong, but then I would look and trying to debug it, or look for in the internet why this is happening, and then I will come across that yeah, it's because of this setting in Doom Emacs, or this setting in this package that's configured in a module in Doom Emacs.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I so I've been like shedding the modules for a time for some time, where I would disable a module and then I would make my own module, so
Ah.
I know exactly what's going on, or exactly how this function or this program or this other package is integrated into Emacs. But at that point, I'm making my own config, so I try to migrate to vanilla so that one thing, obviously, this I don't have anything against Doom
Mhm.
Emacs. I love it. But one thing that I've noticed is that I don't need that many packages to
Uh-huh.
do everything that I want to do, or everything that I currently do. So
Yeah.
it's a really good learning experience.
Mhm.
And but yeah, I noticed that that's the main draw towards my own config, is
I see.
knowing what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's fundamentally what everybody would gain from rolling their own configuration. Is like it's a system that you piece together so you understand what goes into it, and
Yeah,
hopefully you know how to debug because of this insight that you have. Doom, of course, has to cater to a wide audience, so it has
yeah,
these abstractions and layers, I believe they call them, or modules, whatever. And
yeah,
of course, it needs to provide something for everybody. But then eventually, once you understand what your needs are, you just resort to those.
yeah,
Tell me a little bit about org, because in the message you sent me, you mentioned a package that you have. So I am curious how all this started. So you are using org, of course. It's for your work, I imagine. So how do the
yeah.
two intersect?
Well, I in at my work, well, data engineering, for starters, is basically like a plumber, like being a plumber for data. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say tables or rows of records for a given domain. Let's say
Okay.
bank information or transaction information from banks or whatever. And they need to process that into something that's usable for department, usually business, usually something related to business reports.
Okay.
So what a data engineer does is make sure that the data, first of all, is clean, so it can be usable, or it can be used for further refining. So you
Uh-huh.
then do operations on that data, normally with PySpark or another engine, PySpark or Pandas or SQL. First of all, you do that cleaning process, then you make sure that it gets from point A to point B, and then you further process it for the given client, what they need the
Mm-hmm.
data for.
Okay.
And this also includes, for example, making sure that no private data gets to the final part, like nothing of sensitive information gets through, like everything's anonymous or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's basically the work. So that's why I say it's like a plumber, because in the main perfect world, you don't need to clean it that much. You don't need to make sure that it gets from point A to point B. Everything works every time,
Uh-huh.
but it's never like that. It's never like that. It's never clean. It never gets from point A to point B. And it's always like even the most fine or minute detail can make the whole thing break if it's
Oh.
designed if it's
Mhm.
fragile enough, like the design of the whole thing is fragile enough, it can break from uh, finding a letter in a number column, let's say.
Ah, yeah. So that's the part where you say clean, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
That's what I mean by cleaning. It's
Hmm.
like the types of data that each column has is what you need, or the the phone number column doesn't have a name or doesn't have
Hmm.
insults, because something they have. I come across a lot of times where some field, because let's say you're filling out a form
Of
in
course, yeah.
online, and and in the web page, normally when you have a thing for a phone number, you can't just write letters on it. But if you can write letters, you can write words on the phone section. Obviously, someone's going to
Of
write
course,
whatever they want. So
of course, of
yeah.
course. And I
So yeah,
imagine,
you have to clean that.
in like with the case of a phone number, is there some registry where you check that it exists, or is that not a thing? So apart,
No,
I
no,
mean,
no, no.
from the data correctness, the type
No.
correctness.
That's not really
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
really relevant because normally, well, I personally haven't come across when a phone number is usable
Mm-hmm.
for a report. Normally, it's more related to addresses. Always addresses and emails are the better than bother of cleaning data, because
Mm-hmm.
if the email is a valid email, has the at sign, or if it has a domain after the at sign, or how many letters has it, and that's when you use a lot of regex, for example,
Mm-hmm.
regex expression.
Mm-hmm.
So, but going back to org mode or my work is that since that's the work, you are all over the place doing a lot of different tasks. Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
are cleaning things with and you're writing Python. Sometimes you're looking at infrastructure, like cloud infrastructure in an AWS, let's say. So let's say something didn't get from point A to point B, then you have
Uh-huh.
to investigate and you have to do like a forensic job, like trying to find out why this thing didn't work, or why this thing that was supposed to go out and go to execute at 1 a.m. yesterday didn't go. Or and sometimes it's a chain reaction. Sometimes something didn't work because
Ooh.
this other thing didn't work, and this other thing didn't work because there was a number in the
Ooh,
word
yeah,
column,
so
letter column. So it's a lot of investigative work when something doesn't work.
and do you have
Uh,
monitoring tools? So are you able to track the status of each service and each, I don't know, deployment or whatever?
I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
there are solutions like integrated solutions. It's the same as with Emacs and Doom
Hmm.
Emacs and other frameworks. There are solutions that are completely integrated when you just press buttons, but there's also the option of not having to pay for that and just creating your own tools for that,
Okay,
which
makes
is what,
sense.
and that's a lot of what I've been, or that's one use case that I've been coming across a lot since I started, is like creating my own tools for
Hmm.
debugging things or for investigating things, using org mode or using scripts or using alias. Right now, I'm trying to use more alias because I'm trying to learn it.
Hmm.
But for example, going back to my work or my use of org mode in my work, it was that I would create these reports. I would create reports like root cause analysis
Uh-huh.
for a problem that I came across, and then I could make this great document uh, where I could have code and letter and paragraphs and executable code that I could then fetch information about given workflow. So that's basically what got me started on doing more programmatic things in org mode besides just writing things,
Hmm.
but using more tables and or using blocks, let's say Babel blocks for Bash scripts.
Okay, okay. So you
And
started with Bash. Okay, okay.
yeah, I
Hmm.
would do Bash scripts because I mainly work with AWS, so with Amazon Web Services.
Hmm.
So there's this client, this CLI, where with Bash scripts, basically you can gather data from anything, any resource you have in the cloud. So I
Okay.
would do it that way. And that way I would execute this script, and I would end up with the information in my document, and then I would just export it and create the document and send it.
Okay, very good, very good. And you would export to PDF or HTML. What is the expected format?
Really, the thing that I use the most, because at different workplaces I've been using, they always use a different platform for ticketing. Let's say they use Jira or they use Confluence or they use
Hmm.
ClickUp or Azure DevOps, etc. Like there's this whole array of platforms. So what I
Yeah.
do mainly is export to HTML, and then I just copy and paste it onto the platform. And normally the format is preserved. The
Okay.
tables and even the code formatting, the code highlighting, the syntax highlight, it works pretty
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
I just
yeah, yeah.
export to HTML and paste it.
Yeah, because I think by default, when you export with the option of code highlighting, I think the way it does it is with inline styles. So it's the HTML tag and then style and then so it's not an
Yeah,
embedded CSS. So yeah, it should work.
yeah, it was really well.
Oh, that's very good, very good. So what does the package you wrote? So you have this package
Oh,
which is for org Babel,
yeah.
and what does it do? Can you tell me a few things about it? Of course, I went through the documentation, but
Uh,
yeah,
what is this package called? OB.db, which is mainly a org Babel integration for DocDB, which is an SQL. Uh, it's not a database engine, but it's like for data analysis.
okay,
It's for data. Basically, the main, I would say that the main draw towards DocDB is like it's for SQLite. What is the let me think
yeah,
about
the
the words.
equivalent you want to say, yeah,
Yeah, it's like the not equivalent, but
mm,
it's to data analysis what SQLite is to transactional workflows. So SQLite is really good for transactional
hmm
integration and into embedded uh, data operations. Let's say that I'm trying to get a fetch a single value for a given value record.
okay,
For
okay,
example, for Rome uses SQLite.
hmm
So I want to fetch a node, and I want to fetch or create an entry to link this node to this other node, etc. It's like one to one. You basically get a single row of data for a given operation, or you want to fetch all the nodes that are linked to this other node. In the case of Rome, DocDB is basically that, but for more and not that data analysis
mm,
aggregations. You want to know the total value of something across 10 million rows or of 10 100 thousand million records, whatever, and it's really efficient. So you can do
ah.
things without depending on cloud services for analysis. So you can do basically analytical or this really heavy load of data operations, but locally.
Oh, very nice. And does it have its own scripting language or interface language, or is
It's
it a standard?
basically yeah, it's basically an offshoot of PostgreSQL.
Okay.
So it's really easy to work with if you previously work with SQL.
Okay, okay. So somebody who
Uh,
is in this space already can pick it up and just start working.
yeah. For example, for data analytics or for data science or that sort of work is really easy to pick up. Basically,
Hmm.
you just create uh, a query, let's say a select statement from a table, and you can execute it from the command line.
Okay.
So that's why it was really straightforward, let's say, to integrate it into an org Babel
Haha.
source block.
Hmm.
Because basically what I'm doing is creating a what's the word for it?
Buffer maybe
Shell,
process
uh,
tab shell.
a command
Ah.
shell.
Hmm.
Yeah, command shell where I'm that session or in that process I'm executing the command there. Like the same thing I'm doing in the command line is getting executed in the command shell through the Babel source block.
And then you get the output from the last prompt to the end, and you print that in org.
Yeah. You create markers for it.
Hmm.
Create a marker for the start and the end, and then you fetch the whole thing in between.
Hmm.
And actually, there are a lot of optimizations that I've been working on because I noticed that I had a lot of unnecessary cleaning operations where I was trying to clean. basically row by row of the
Okay.
output,
Okay.
and I
Okay.
would not. But I didn't notice any problems at that point because all the and that this is where this is a really good insight into developing anything, which
uh,
was all my tests were on sets of data of mm, less than 10,000 records of
okay.
10,000 rows of data. And at that point, I didn't notice any problems. But when I started working or using it at work,
It was
and
very
I
slow.
would fetch a million records or 100,000, and then I was notice the clock ups and things that
Yeah.
I would normally take 1 or less than 1 second, were taking like 20,
Mm-hmm.
15 seconds, and then I went back to the drawing board and tried to look for it. But yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the my test samples were not enough actually.
I see, I see. So, of course, you mentioned commit. Maybe you have read about it already, but basically, Emacs has this concept of the process, which you can start independent of commit. So there is make
Yep.
process, start process, and basically the idea is that with a process you can attach to it a sentinel function, so that watches what the process is doing and then add something to it, and I believe a filter function as well, which would be
Yep.
for cleaning up purposes. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, you will find it. I mean, that's part of the fun of writing your packages.
Yeah. 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 I did a lot of, especially because when at first it was just synchronous execution in
Hmm.
the source code. But when I wanted to integrate async execution of blocks, it was a lot of work because there's a lot of things that required that are required for it, like how to mark the results when you have to basically be looking for the have a watch basically while the thing is executing, and then when the thing is on, you look for the marker, and then you find that marker and send back the results. But you need to know where you need to send them back. For
Haha,
example,
yeah, exactly.
the results block of the source block. So how to do all of that, and especially with async, or in this case, because normally uh, there is async execution already on org mode since 9.7 or 9.5. I can't remember, but for example, for Python or for Bash
Hmm.
and for R, I think.
Hmm.
And I looked into the already the SQL Babel code, because there's Babel code, Babel for SQL already,
Uh-huh.
but they're all for relational databases, for relational database engines, which is you need a connection to a database with a user and a password
Hmm.
and a GDBL. I can't remember basically a driver to connect to a database instance.
Okay.
And in our case, with DocDB, we're not creating instances. We're not connecting to an instance. You can just query a file.
Yes, yes,
Let's say you
yes.
have a CSV, or you have a JSON, or you have a Parquet, or an Excel, or any other type of document, and you can just query it without having to spin up an instance of a database. So all the integration that I came across on the already existing code were not sufficient for what I was doing, because I can query 10 different files in 10 different blocks,
Correct.
but they're not connected to any instance. So I need to fetch the results and bring them back to
To the
the,
specific,
the
yeah,
to
exactly.
the specific code that I
Yeah.
execute. Let's say I execute 10 blocks, and the block number 3 finishes before the block number 2, and the number 6 finishes before the number 1. So I need to go back to that block and have an ID for it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Because of course this is
so
not a
that's when.
problem if you do it synchronously and you assume that the user will just evaluate one code block at a time. Because then of course you do control C, you wait for it and you get the results right below.
Yep.
But if you do it async and you do something like the org babel execute for the whole thing, then of course you have to know where things go.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and there's also another thing that I had to integrate at some point was that what if I don't want the results to show up in my org buffer? Because
Ah.
if I
Mhm.
query and that thing sends back a million records of a table with 30 columns, it's gonna uh, break Emacs. It's gonna crash because
Yes, yes.
it's gonna try to apply a face and a certain
Mhm.
text properties to that table when it comes back to the org mode buffer. So I had to integrate a function to output things to a fundamental mode, without any code text properties to a separate buffer, a
Mhm.
separate temp buffer, not related to any file or whatever. It's just output to a buffer.
Okay, so
So
you output
yeah.
and then you pull back in. So you go there in fundamental mode and then you take it without text properties and you bring it back in, or you just leave it there.
No, to just leave it there. Maybe you don't want the results. Let's say
Ah,
you're exploring a database, a data set, and you don't want 10 million records or 10 million rows of data in your org file. You can just output it to a different buffer and be
yeah.
done
So
with it,
you
and
would
you
only
still
get
have
about the analytics or whatever, like the one
the
line result or
query.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the SQL code that gave you the data, and maybe you can just fetch a few rows of that and put it in your document, but you don't need 10 million records for it.
Yeah, I see. I see. So, how was the experience, or generally, how is the experience of contributing to free software, open source, doing things in the open more generally? And part of that
Uh,
means that your code is now viewed, reviewed by other people.
I mean, it's really daunting for me, even because mm, it's like a really weird experience for me, all of this. Even now, a conversation is really weird for me
Hmm.
because, at least for me, in my experience, the internet was always something to be a spectator of,
Aha.
never
Hmm.
really a participant in a discussion. For
Hmm.
example, let's say I also use a lot of Reddit or other boards for technology or for Emacs or for any given interest, but I was never really a participant in any discussion. I was reading. I
Hmm.
enjoyed reading, but not really talking in those discussions. So publishing something like a package was really awkward for me in that sense
Hmm.
because to put your stake onto something, like to put you have skin in the game, let's say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's really daunting, the thought of, because then you it's not, but it's really good too, because then you start thinking not just how this is useful for me, but how someone else might come across a problem.
Hmm.
For example, how maybe this is not intuitive enough, or maybe this is the wording of this function, or the
Hmm.
way that you use this parameter of this heading. Let's say if you're talking about our source blocks, the way you use this heading parameter for outputting results, or for the format of the code, or the way that you execute this is not enough, or the documentation is not enough. You tend to you think that you're done, but actually it's like 20% of the work. When something works for you, it's like 20% of the work
Exactly.
to the goal, really. Or that's at least how I thought about it when thinking about publishing or making the repository for the package.
Hmm. So now that you have contributed a bit, so you have the package, you are here, so you are contributing to the interactive
Yeah,
web, let's
yeah.
say. Um, how does it feel in terms of what am I contributing? Like, do you have a sense of I want to contribute something good? Do you have a sense of accountability or let's say a motivation to do something good?
Yeah. A lot of that, especially now that I know a bit about how something works. For example, how org source block work, or how you can create new modes
Hmm.
for a different language, or different integrations. It becomes like really. you start thinking about more. Oh, maybe I could do this. I could do that. Maybe I could do another package that uses this, or maybe I could create another package. But my main goal would be to eventually know more about how Emacs development, the actual Emacs
Aha, yeah,
development
yeah,
works.
yeah.
Because creating a repository is one thing, but having to use mail lists and having to go through the whole copyright process, which I, from what I got, it is needed
Yes.
to contribute to Emacs, is a whole nother level, I would say, for me at least.
It is, I would say it is difficult to get started. The downside is that it is difficult. The upside, I think, is that it works as a good pre-filter, where it's like the
Mhm.
people who contribute are already committed to it. So
Yeah, yeah.
you kind of have a barrier to entry for the low effort contributions. Not to say that this is necessarily good, but that's how it works in practice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It basically works as like a, yeah, like I say, a filter. And that's actually something I wanted to ask you, because
Hmm.
obviously you have to learn Emacs piece by piece. I assume
Hmm.
over the years, and you've contributed some packages for the base Emacs repository. Let's say,
Hmm.
for example, the modus teams, and now you have this other package recently. What's the word for it? As MCT,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
which is not integrated into Mix. I know, but you do other packages too, like the notes package that you done too. Like, how do you? Because I've every time I think about maybe I should do this package, I think that, oh, maybe I can require my previous package, because truth to be told, I've done 4 packages,
hmm.
but I've only published one.
Aha, I see.
Yeah, but normally I think, oh yeah, I did some of this in this other package.
Hmm.
Maybe I should require as a dependency. But then I think I do that package, and I try to think about, and I start working on another one, and I think, oh yeah, I also did one things like this in this other one. Maybe I should require it too. So I get into this dependency spiral of packages. So I don't know if, at least on your opinion, do you prefer things to be isolated, like atomic? Everything works within the package with dependencies, or is it like, what's your thoughts on that?
So I would say in abstract, I'm not against the dependencies. So of course, if you have written a package which does something useful and then another package that needs to use it, obviously use it. So I'm not against it in
Hmm.
principle. In practice, it has happened that all my packages are standalone. Of course, there are some packages which, like the denote package, which has some extensions like denote org, denote sequence, whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
which depend on the node, of course. But generally, all the packages are standalone. So,
Hmm.
like yesterday, I published a DRED preview and a latest version of it. So that just requires DRED, which is built into Emacs, and
Hmm.
otherwise, it doesn't depend on any of my other packages. So, like using one of my packages, you are not buying into, let's say, the prot ecosystem, whatever that would mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
as I said, it's not a principled position. It just
Mhm.
happened.
Yeah. My main caveat with having to require previous packages or having dependencies on previous packages that I've done is that maybe something is not going to be as easy to read or to understand from
Hmm.
reading the
Hmm.
documentation on the single package. You're gonna have to go from one point to another one. So like basically jump across packages to find how something is work or why something broke. So I
Yes,
think that's my
yes.
main caveat with that.
That also speaks to the
Yeah,
design of the abstractions that you have, of course.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that would be something to consider. And actually, I think that's a good test because if you have a package where you have these interlocking code paths, and now one thing here breaks another thing there, maybe that's a sign that you need to disentangle them and maybe create another abstraction.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's not necessarily bad. Maybe do it that way and see that, oh, it is kind of brittle, so maybe I can refine
Yeah,
it and refactor it.
yeah. Going back to the org
Hmm.
example, like each mode or each source, for example, for Babel, each Babel integration for different languages is going to be a different file. But maybe in my case, when trying to do sync and async executions, I had to go to a lot of places just to find how something would work.
Hmm.
But that's required, at least for org mode, because you're trying to create a execution framework for any language
Yes,
when you want
yes.
to create a new Babel integration. So I see why that's required, but maybe what I need to do isn't that use case. It doesn't need that level of integration with different things.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, it's something that I've been thinking a lot of, is when when I should require something else, or why should I just do it from the ground up. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's another thing with developing or trying to develop a package, is that with time I'm trying to use more uh, inbuilt
Hmm.
packages instead
Hmm.
of having to require uh, packages from other places.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
example,
yeah.
the CL library, or for example, for this example, Babel and org.
Yeah, yeah. I think generally that's a good approach. Like, start with what is built into Emacs, and only if it's necessary, then pull in some other dependency, another package not built
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
And I think that generally is a good approach, because one way to think of Emacs, of course, is as the executable. So you have the text editor. But another way to think of it is as a distribution, in the sense of a Linux distribution, meaning like you have like some program and then some extra applications of it. And
Mhm,
I think that helps, because now you can think of, okay, how can I make best use of this distribution that everybody has?
mhm.
So yeah, that would be
Yeah,
the
yeah,
idea.
yeah, yeah.
So let's switch topics to discuss something a bit more casual for the final minutes. Um,
Yeah.
you mentioned Chile in the beginning, and I want to know a bit more, because, of course, I come from a completely different part of the world, from Greece, and to me, Southern America is like a wonderful image I have of it. Like, it's a place I would really like to visit. So I am a tourist coming to Chile, and I arrive there and I'm like, citizens, I am here. Where do I go? What do I do?
Well, you can do basically almost anywhere. I would say Chile, because I'm not really big on city or urban tourism.
Hmm.
Tourism, like going to museums and all that, is nice,
Hmm.
obviously. But I would say if you're coming to Chile, it's best to go out to the different parts of the regions of the country instead of staying on Santiago, which is the capital.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Even though Santiago has a lot of tourism or places that you can go, it's a city. It's You're gonna find what you can find in almost any city,
I see.
unless it's about food, which a lot of people like to do tourism for food,
Hmm.
like going to different restaurants, trying the different foods, which is really good. But I prefer the more uh, going to different uh, what's the word, biomes, or uh,
Hmm.
basically different ecosystems, because in Chile you have the deserts to the north, you have the Atacama desert, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of observatories for, because the skies are really
The
good
stars,
for
yeah.
yeah, the skies are really clear for that sort of field.
And what's the
So
altitude there at the Atacama Desert?
oh, it's a few thousand
Yes.
meters.
Hmm.
Yeah, the the altitudes are really high up to the north, and but there's like I said, the different biomes. You have
Hmm.
the deserts, you have the coast, because
Hmm.
you have coast. The coast to the north is different to the coast in the center part of the country, obviously, and the coast to the south is also really different. So you have the coast all over the country. and to the south, my preference is the south of
Oh,
Chile,
interesting.
because it's the rainforests, and you have a lot of greenery. I really like cold climate, so
Ah, nice.
it's really good in that sense. And
So
there's a
just for
lot
me
of
to understand,
reservations. Yep.
let me understand this. So of
Hmm.
course I know the geography. So there are the Andean mountains, the mountain range, and
Yep.
what you are saying is that at the south, basically you reach the point where the mountains like go into lowlands, and you have like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
rainforest. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay,
the Patagonia.
okay, okay, okay. Great,
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it's beautiful there,
Oh my
and the
goodness.
climate is really good. Well, if you do well in cold climate, but it basically have a fed of things that you can go and see anywhere really besides the city.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
I would do that. And there's a lot of ecotourism or expeditions or trekking, going to the mountains, going to the different forests, the different tracks across different reserves. And uh, but for example, to the south, there's the glaciers. There's glaciers
Hmm.
really down south, so you can go and watch the glaciers, or you can go into the mountains.
Oh,
And
nice.
but yeah, it's really nice, that sort of tourism.
Uh-huh.
One thing that I would say, that because I know a lot of people that don't like camping, but if you
Mm-hmm.
like camping, going to the south is definitely something to do.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
me, I would rather avoid the city. Of course, it's fine. I'm not against
Oh,
it, but give me mountains, give me rainforest,
yeah.
give
Yeah,
me
yeah, yeah.
this coastline. Yeah, of course. Do you also have islands?
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of islands. To the
Uh-huh.
south, it's all islands. For example, there's Chiloé, and which is a beautiful, beautiful island. And there you can go to, what's the word for it? I, I, I'm- I don't know the word for it, but basically you can go to the different reserves and different
Mm-hmm.
sectors of the island, which is really, really nice, because there's not a lot of uh, basically there's a lot of untouched parts of forest.
Uh-huh.
Obviously every year there's less and less, but there's
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of untouched
unfortunate.
parts of forest and greenery and nature to the south, and especially Chiloé. It's really, really good. It's really nice. Yeah, and that's an island. It's really close to the mainland. It's not really a far apart island, but it's there. And if you want more separate islands, there's also the what's the word for the archipelago.
Mm-hmm.
That's an English
That's
word, right?
that's a word. Yeah, yeah.
Archipelago. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they use it in
That's-
English. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So so there's a lot of islands too. So yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
basically I would find, like I said, like
That's
whatever you want.
amazing. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, me, I would like to basically experience from the north to the south, get a taste of how it is. Like the northernmost part, is it on the equator or is it before? Is it still
Oh, it's
temperate?
before. It's
Yeah.
before. Yeah, yeah. We have a northern border with Peru,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, there's, but it's before the equator.
I see, I see, I see. And like, what's the population of Chile? This I don't know. Like,
Right
uh,
now, at this point, it's now I think it's like 20. Last time I heard, it's like
hmm.
20 million. Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was fewer people. Yeah, 20 million. That's good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, there's been a lot of migration to the regions, especially since the pandemic, because people are like leaving the city.
Mm-hmm.
Because Santiago is or Chile is one of those countries where we have, I don't know if it's the half of the population is in Santiago, like in the capital, or it's more
Yeah.
than that.
Oh my
But
goodness.
but yeah, it's like it's really centralized. We have a lot of most services like hospitals and anything that you can think of is mainly in the city. So obviously a lot of people, jobs and everything are here and in the capital. But since the pandemic, yeah, since the pandemic, there's a lot of more remote work. So people are migrating to different parts.
Yeah, that's good,
But
I think.
yeah, it's a really crowded city.
Yeah, it's like that in other parts as well. Like Greece also has this issue. I don't know what's the distribution, but basically a lot of people in the capital. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so I think more than they should be.
Yeah.
Come to the mountains. Anyway,
Well, I'm going to the south at some point.
yeah, or the rainforest, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Escape.
Very good, very good. So I say we call it a day.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for this discussion. I will link to your package in the description. If there
Oh
are
yeah,
any other
sounds good.
links, just let me know and I can add them. You can just
Mhm.
email me
I
the
don't know,
links.
just that one.
Okay, okay, very good,
Yeah,
very good. So thank you
yeah.
very much. Take care
Likewise.
and good luck with everything and enjoy your beautiful country.
Thank you, Brad.
Bye bye, bye bye. Take care.
Bye. See ya.
And why isn't it closing? Okay. And I'm terminating here. So take care, folks. Goodbye from my side.